Port Adventure Days are an exciting part of your Disney cruise. A chance to explore somewhere you've never been before or relax on board with fewer crowds. But should you book a port adventure, explore on your own, or just enjoy the ship? Today I'm breaking down everything you need to know to make the best choice for your family, plus tips for saving money and avoiding common mistakes when it comes to Port Adventure Days. Hi, my name's Rhiannon Morgan, everyone calls me Rhi. Here on the channel you'll find loads of magical vlogs, plus everything you need to know about taking your family on a Disney cruise, to the Disney parks, or on magical mini breaks and days out in the UK. So Port Adventure Days are literally days where the Disney Cruise Line will dock at a port so you can get off the ship, as opposed to sea days where you spend the whole day at sea. You can choose between a bookable port adventure, which is an excursion booked and arranged through Disney. You pay Disney for that and they take you on the entire excursion. You can book third-party port excursions or just choose to get off the ship and wander around by yourself. Let's start at the very beginning.
A very good place to start.
You'll know the ports that your cruise will be stopping at when you book your cruise. Before you even book, you can see the basic itinerary of which days are going to be port days and which are going to be sea days. I'd highly recommend before you even book, taking a look at which ports you fancy and booking your cruise accordingly. At some ports, the ship will dock right in the middle of the action and you can literally wander off the ship and have a look around at what's going on. In other ports, the ship has to dock in a much more industrial area and it will be at least a short bus ride from the ship to the nearest place of interest, because some of the ports are not pedestrianised at all. Let's start by talking about the port adventures you can book through Disney Cruise Line. These will be booked prior to your cruise when your booking window opens, although there may be an option to go to guest services and see if they have any availability when you get on the ship. So never rule this out if you haven't managed to book something before you sail. There's always a possibility that someone's cancelled and they'll have spaces available on board. You won't know exactly which port excursions are available until your booking window opens, and when your booking window opens will depend on your Castaway Club status. Castaway Club is Disney Cruise Line's loyalty scheme, and the more times you sail with Disney, the higher up the Castaway Club you go. As soon as you get off your first Disney cruise, you are in the club and you get priority booking for things like onboard activities, port excursions, adult dining, ahead of first-time cruisers. You can find all the Castaway Club information on the Disney Cruise Line website, but also inside my Magical Cruise Planner. The Magical Cruise Planner is the perfect way to plan your cruise, everything from helping you pick the ship, which cruise you're going to go on, the accommodation you may want to prior to sailing, when your booking windows open, when your deposits are due, all your planning, your outfits, your packing, and even packing the most magic into each day on board. There's the adult version for us grown-ups to plan all the magic, or a kids version with all the boring booking stuff taken out and loads of fun activities popped in there instead. All the details can be found on screen and down in the description. So when your booking window opens, all of the port excursion options will be available. If you're sailing on one of the cruises that takes you to Disney's private island Castaway Cay or their new location, Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point, there'll be lots of fantastic experiences available, from snorkeling to water sports up to the most prestigious and highly difficult to book private cabanas. These tend to be snapped up by Pearl Castaway Club members and concierge guests, as they are very limited. If your port adventure is at a non-Disney location, then they'll have lots of port adventures available to you, including food and wine tasting experiences, walking tours, bus trips, water activities, and more. The port excursions available are going to vary dramatically depending on where you're actually sailing, and there is no way of finding out which port excursions are going to be available to you until that booking window opens. Best thing I can suggest is you check out some vlogs of people that have sailed and done port adventures at the ports that you're going to be sailing to. I also share all of the onboard activities that are available when I do my bookable activity with me vlogs, where myself and my son Wikipedia, little expert in Disney, log in at 5 a.m. and share with you all of the options that we have available to book and what we actually end up booking. Biggest benefit of booking port adventures with Disney is they're going to be seamless, they're going to be well organised, and most importantly, you're not going to get left behind. The night before port adventures at the shows, the Disney cruise directors are always very keen to remind everyone to have their cameras at the ready if they miss the all aboard time, because they're going to get a fantastic view of the ship sailing away without them. So if you do not make it back to the ship by the all aboard time, they will leave you behind. And this is not just a Disney thing, this is a general cruising thing. However, if you book an excursion direct with the cruise line, they will not leave you behind. So this is quite a big benefit of booking direct with Disney. Some of the downsides, however, the costs are likely to be higher than booking independently, and definitely higher than just getting off the ship and having a wander around. And they'll often be quite early start times. The port excursion parties tend to meet on board, perhaps in one of the cinemas or theatres as a meeting point, and all of these details will be given to you through your Disney Cruise Line Navigator app once you get on board. So you won't necessarily know the exact start times or meeting points until you get on board, but I know they do tend to be quite early because they favour getting the excursions done nice and early and getting back on board in plenty of time. Next option is to book excursions and experiences locally with independent providers. This would have to be done off your own back and nothing to do with Disney, and obviously it would then be up to you to make sure you are back in time. So if that excursion were running over and you weren't back at the port in time, that could really be a bit of a problem. So you might save a bit of money, but you don't want to end up missing the ship. Of course, your other option is to just get off the ship and have a little wander around. Now, I know a lot of people previously have booked port adventures just because they were concerned about how to get from the ship to the local area that's of interest. But if the ship is not docked directly in the port, the way it was in Vigo, where we just got off the ship and we were right there in the middle of the action, and it's more like when we docked at La Rochelle and we were in a much more industrial area, they will put on a complimentary shuttle bus service to get you from the port to where you're likely to want to be. They will share the last bus time, which is really important to know, as well as the all aboard time. When I actually booked our Spanish cruise, I did a little bit of Googling and found out how close the ship was going to be docking to all of the action. We got off at the port where the ship was just right there. It was quite comforting that we could see the ship at all times. It was easy to get back to. And honestly, we got off the ship, we had a little wander around. The area was lovely. We took some nice pictures in front of the ship. But the children were just keen to get back on board. Which brings me to my next option of not actually bothering to get off the ship at all of your port adventures. If you're on a 4 or even 5 night cruise, there's so much to do on board the ship that if it's a port that you've been to before, or perhaps it's a port that's quite a distance from the ship and you're going to have to get buses, maybe you've got young children, you think they're not going to be that fussed on what there is to see at the local port, it is perfectly acceptable to choose to stay on the ship or to just get off for a very short time and spend the rest of the day on the ship. Port days are much quieter on board, and while the shops won't be open because of taxation reasons, they can't open the shops while they're in port, there's still so much to do on board the ship. And there'll still be loads of free or included activities for you to do on board. So a few things to remember when you're getting off for your port adventure. You're going to need either your Key to the World card or Magic Band Plus in order to get on and off the ship. This is how Disney Cruise Line verifies your identity. As you'll know if you've watched any of my online check-in vlogs, when you're checking in before you board the ship, you have to upload all of your documents to be verified, and your Key to the World card or your Magic Band Plus are scanned and they can verify it's you against the photograph that's been uploaded to your account. At some ports, but not all ports, depending on where you're going and which nationality you are, you may or may not need your passport. But Disney Cruise Line will let you know the night before your port adventure whether you're going to need passports or not to get on and off the ship. And all of this information will also be available to you on your stateroom TV. The stateroom TV is really handy. It has lots of stock information. Plus your Disney Cruise Line directors will get on to the stateroom TV and do a live broadcast each morning, giving you options of what's available that day, all the information you need to know, and that will be available on repeat for you to watch throughout the day. So while port adventures can be amazing experiences, it's just really going to depend on your family, what your preferences are, whether you've cruised before, whether you've been to the port before, but don't feel obliged to get off at every port. On our last 2 cruises, there were 2 port adventure days and we just got off at one of the 2 ports and enjoyed the ship the rest of the day. There are so many amazing things to do on board your Disney cruise that are included in your cruise fare. So if you want to know what they are, click on the video on screen now and I shall see you over there. Or hang out with me some more inside my Magical Adventures Club, or check out this playlist full of videos to help you prepare for your next Disney cruise. I'll see you real soon. Bye.